to get to LSU and get your breakdown of them right now. So hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure and share. We greatly appreciate that. Yeah, LSU, I know, is in rebuilding mode.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you make of their game against Auburn? They get the win, but they didn't blow me away in any shape, form, or fashion. Where is this football team right now after a bit of a mutiny in week one? Maybe that's too strong of a
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it was week one was more about, assignments, mistakes, frustration, a little bit of a player. Keishawn Butte is a little bit of a me guy, and that's not reflective of It's just they've kind of calmed him down, and I think they're fine culture wise and everything. I think they've been fine since the beginning. It's always when you have a loss, it's kind of overblown. They're trying to kind of figure things out. They outcoached the heck out of Mississippi State. They found a way to make adjustments against Auburn. I think they're really well organized and they're very well coached. I just don't think they're as good. I think people think LSU, well, they won again and they're really, really good. They don't have a passing game. Um, they that's a problem. Neither does Auburn. And I thought that they had some big time mistakes in coverage against Auburn. Auburn, got out to a lead and we're in trouble. In fact, if it's not for the fumble, scoop, and score, I don't know. I don't know if that LSU needed that big boost, kind of like A&M got the boost against Arkansas with the fumble from KJ Jefferson. I thought that flipped the game around in LSU's favor, or I don't know if they would have won that game, but they did, and that's maybe a little bit more about Auburn and their struggles of trying to finish. But I think you're catching LSU at the right time if you're Tennessee. This team's trying to find itself. Uh, there's a whole lot of transfers that were brought in. There's the program talent wise was left adrift by Ed Orgeron, but there's still some talent, just not nearly as much as you think 2019 and how much talent could there be? It's a complete shift. Guys that didn't go to the NFL transferred or whatever. So it's it's definitely a rebuild, but they're well coached. They ran the football pretty well against Auburn, which is impressive because Auburn has got a pretty good defensive front. But I don't think they can throw the football well enough. Look, this is going to be this is going to be the game plan should be and will be like Florida's game plan was against Tennessee. Run the football, keep it away from Tennessee. LSU can't keep up with Tennessee's, score quickly, and they can't match points in the passing game in that regard. So they're going to have to control the game. But Florida did that pretty well. So that's going to be the key is, for Tennessee is defensively. Like it is going to be pretty much for every game. Is can defensively they get off the field? And can they create turnovers or slow down the opposition's run game to allow their offense to cook and breathe and get in rhythm? Because if Tennessee gets a lead, they'll win and win going away. Just like I said against Florida. We know that kind of, or Pitt. Both of those games were a little bit more challenging. They probably could have been and should have been. And the reason is defensively. So I think that's what I see defensively. Again, for LSU, they can rush the quarterback. Now that's no joke. That's going to be it's going to be a like Pitt, but with better edge rushers. LSU's, Ojulari in particular, but they've got guys that can rush the passer and then get home with four-man pressures. So Matt House is probably, I'm very curious to see how they're going to play it defensively. I've got some thoughts, but I don't know certainly yet what they're going to do. But it's going to be about what LSU can do coverage-wise and with base pressure to slow down Tennessee's offense. And that'll determine how effective they can be on that side of the ball. But in the end, you can play well, but you can't hold down Tennessee's offense for an entire game. So it's really going to come down to LSU's offense and ball control or lack thereof that's going to determine this game.
Yeah, so LSU, I think, if I'm not mistaken, their quarterback got a little beaten up this past weekend against Auburn. What do you see? Do you think he's it's just, I know Bryce Young got beaten up against Arkansas, but it's a sprained shoulder. This quarterback injury, how do you see this affecting, the game coming forward?
Well, I don't know what they're going to call it officially. My guess, and it's just a guess, I hate guessing on medicals, but, to answer the question, that's all I can do. I think he's going to be good to go, although, again, I don't know. I think that what they're going to do is, obviously today's going to be an important day, and, of how things are. But I think they're going to keep it hush-hush. What I think they may do is they may get more reps for Garrett Nussmeier this week. Garrett Nussmeier can be a more effective passer. Jaden Daniels, you're defending the run. So it would make a lot of sense for LSU to kind of, play it the whole Bill Belichick role, day to day, whatever it is, and make Tennessee prepare for defending the quarterback run game if Jaden Daniels is playing, or, a little bit more, passing game, drop back stuff with Garrett Nussmeier. So I think they'll probably play Jaden Daniels, but I don't know that because obviously it's going to depend on health. He starts if he's healthy. If he's not, and I think they get a feel for that, then they're going to practice Garrett Nussmeier more this week. So he'll be more prepared than obviously what he was last week, because you get about 75-80% of your reps to your number one guy. So if you're getting 20% of the reps, 15-20% of your reps, you're not going to be as prepared to play in a game as you would if you've got a whole week where now you get the 80 or 90% of the reps the next week.
Daniel asked a question. It's something that we touched base on months ago. It said, is it possible for Tennessee to run a 4-minute spread offense instead of going to a goal line style, or does the offense rely too much on the speed of play? You've been saying 4-minute offense forever, and I thought they tried that just a little bit against Florida, but it needs to be the next evolution of this offense.
Yeah, you can run it out of the spread set. What you can't do is, you can't line up, and people say this all the time. Well, I don't like when they do. Well, you can't practice all the time the spread and the tempo, and then all of a sudden, well, just line up and power and come off the ball. Well, you don't do that. You don't practice it. I mean, it's just you just that's not who you are. But you can slow down the tempo, and you can run the football and huddle, with the lead. That's not what Josh likes to do. And their offense is built around, we got to trick you. And he's not going to say this, but he feels like, and rightly so, that they're not good enough to beat you lining up mano a mano. He's got to beat you with tempo. So their advantage is we'll line up quickly before the defense could line up, and we'll attack you. And I don't think he's as comfortable, with the reads. He's not as comfortable with being able to get the run game going consistently. So I think they feel like they have to be tempo-oriented to be successful. My thing is, when you get a lead, if you're in a position to do that, that it behooves you to be able to line up, in a huddle. Take your time, even if you don't want to huddle. Just slow the pace down, because what it does, it helps you against the opposing defense, but it hurts your defense on the sideline because they're the weak point of your team anyway. And so it's just a bit of a philosophical difference of what I think versus what Josh thinks. And it doesn't matter. It's Josh's team. Is Josh feels like, the more points we score, then the better. And my feeling is, yes, that's true as long as you score points. But the minute you drop the ball or you have an errant pass and, all of a sudden you've got a 24-point lead and it's 7-point leads with 5 minutes left because you've not been able to eat clock a little bit. And my thing is I still want to score points offensively, but I want to have an element where I can run 4 minutes, 6 minutes off the clock, and then score 7. Because then game over then. Because you basically eliminated, it's not baseball. You don't have 27 outs. That clock is a big part of it. But that's a Josh philosophy And I don't think we're going to truly know Josh's true feelings, regardless of what he says. But we're not going to know that till about 3 years from now, because Josh feels like, rightly so, that that's the only way he can really win, is to do it this way. Now, if he's able to recruit better, then I think he can maybe evolve to where he can still be a really good offense, but be able to implement more of the 4-minute stuff, because defensively they'll have better personnel, deeper personnel. But that depends on the recruiting. And, right now the recruiting is good, not great. But I think a lot of that is just probably Josh's philosophy. In fact, I know it's Josh's philosophy, but will he adapt and adjust? I don't know.